All right, you guys, it's time for the matinee show. This is matinee, 68? Something like that. All right. So we did 2 movies in the theater this week and 1 Shudder original. So we're going to start with that one. So this is a brand new movie. Just came out on Shudder. It's called The Marshes. This is an Australian movie directed by Roger Scott. And it's basically, the plot of it is like there's 3 biologists. Their names are Priya, Ben, and Will, I think. And they go out into the outback to take like water samples because there's been like a lot of ecological damage like out in this particular area. Before they get out there, there's kind of some shit with some horrible Australian type rednecks that they kind of have some exchanges with out in the outback. But there is also a guy, possibly supernatural, I'm not really sure, but he's what they call down there a swagman, which is kind of like a guy that wanders around the outback like hunting rabbits and whatnot, walks around with a bag. They talk about him in that song, Waltzing Matilda.
Yeah, we call those bums here.
Yeah, well, yeah. He's not really a bum. He just like lives out in the he's like a survivalist. He lives out in the outback. But like I said, I think so at the beginning, like when they're kind of camping and they talk about this urban legend about this particular swagman that's like in this area and stuff like that. And, spoiler alert, it ends up being a real guy. Or there's also some hint that maybe everything is just in Priya's head. I'm not really sure where they were going with that. This is actually, this is a decent movie, but it gave me a feeling that this was like a short film that they were stretching out to feature length type issue.
I had the same feeling.
Because I feel like a lot of it was just kind of like filler with like the 3 characters like walking around in the underbrush. There was like even an extended sequence which was almost exactly like the Stephen King story in The Tall Grass, where they were just like stuck in this grass and they kept like circling back to the same place and stuff. So that, it was kind of given some depth a little bit, I think, because they did have some ambiguity over whether all this shit with the swagman was really happening or whether Priya was imagining it for some reason. There was also like a lot of imagery of like bugs, like not bugs, but like amoeba, like bacteria and stuff like that, like in the water. So I'm not sure if they were trying to imply that she had been bitten by a mosquito, because they did kind of go a lot into like mosquitoes, and like before they got there, like the one guy was saying, can we get like whatever the fucking shit is that you get from mosquitoes, not encephalitis, but the other disease. So he was like asking, could they get that? So I don't know if they were implying that she got bit by a mosquito early on and then she was hallucinating all of this, and they never really reveal whether that was the case or not. Like, I'm guessing that like the asshole hunter and everything like that was real, because they saw him like at a gas station before they went out there. But they spent so much time with like the bacterial imagery and her having like weird dreams, which apparently like of somebody's hand like on the outside of the tent, and apparently it didn't happen. So I'm not really sure if all of this stuff happened or not. You know what I mean? Which usually that doesn't bother me, but for this one I think they were trying to go for something and it wasn't super clear what they were trying to do. Like, it's not a bad movie. The cinematography is really nice. Reminded me a lot of, and the look of the swagman reminded me a lot of like Wolf Creek and like movies like that. Had a couple of, kind of gory scenes of the swagman like cutting a dude open like a pig and like eating his liver or whatever the fuck it was he was doing. But it was like it was cut very quickly. You know what I mean?
Australia's kind of been bringing the A game with some of these horror movies. I think that last 2 or 3 of them that we saw, I liked them.
Yeah, I did as well.
This one is not quite the A game.
Yeah,
it's more like the B game. Now I'm not shitting on the director or the crew or the acting. The acting is good. I think it was shot real competently. Whoever made this movie has a lot of potential.
Yeah,
but I think it just needed to be brought up a notch story wise. There should have been more. Like you said, it felt like a short story stretched out.
Yeah, because there was a lot of footage of them just like walking around lost or like walking around in the outback.
I think had the budget been a little bit bigger, or the script been a little more detailed, more shit happening in it, it would have justified the length.
Yeah, because so like I said,
that's the only problem I'm seeing with the movie.
Yeah, I liked the concept. I liked the swagman concept. I liked kind of not necessarily a red herring, but there was also like a secondary threat, like with this scary hunter dude that was always out there who was clearly a real person and also a huge douchebag. I also liked the introduction of like this bacterial thing. And like I said, I think they were trying to go somewhere with that because they did make a big deal about, you know, can we get shit from mosquitoes out here and all this other stuff, and showed people getting bit by mosquitoes, like hitting themselves. So I do feel like there was some of that going on. Yeah. So I liked that ambiguity thing. Like, oh, is the swagman real? Is she just imagining it because she's having like fever dreams and stuff? So I liked that. I just felt like, you know, and like you said, the actors were fine. They were likable, you know, relatable characters. The cinematography was really beautiful. It just felt like there wasn't enough, like, story to it.
Yeah. What's the director's name?
Roger Scott.
Okay.
I'm not sure. This might be his first movie. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, you probably have to keep an eye on him.
That's what I mean.
I think better will come from this guy. I think it was a budgetary problems.
I think so too. Like, I definitely got the feeling that, you know, not only was this a very short script that they were trying to make into a feature-length movie. And it's not even that long a movie. I think it's only 85 minutes. Yeah. But I definitely got the sense that they were having a lot of budgetary constraints, too. Because, like, a lot of the gore looked really good. Like, it looked realistic, like that the guy was cutting it open and, like, eating it. But they didn't show it for very long. Yeah. Like, it was very quickly edited, almost like...
Well, that's probably a good idea, because there probably wasn't much going on.
Yeah, because, but
they made it seem like there was more.
Yeah, like, they didn't want to, like, dwell on it too much in case it didn't look good enough.
Right.
And they didn't have, like, a lot of big, gory set pieces or anything like that, probably because they couldn't afford it. Like I said, you know, I don't like to shit on people too much for not having the fucking money to make a movie.
Oh, well, no. I mean, the guy didn't have any money, and he made a decent movie.
Yeah.
It's a decent movie.
That's what I mean.
You know, it's not a bad movie. It's a decent movie.
I just, you know, the only thing is I felt like in the middle where they were just kind of like wandering around, and, you know, there'd be long sequences where they're just wandering around and they would just hear the swagman whistling and stuff like that, which, you know, that's creepy up to an extent, but after a while you're just kind of like, okay, let's get on with it. You know what I mean? Like, let's move on to something else. So I think that was the only thing. It was
I think it made a point that he can make a movie.
Yeah.
All right. I predict that a better one will come from this guy.
Yeah, I think so too. And like I said, if this is his first effort, which I'm not sure if it is, you know, this seems like a really good movie. I generally like all new movies that are coming out of Australia. We've reviewed a few of them on the last show. So, like I said, this, you know, it's not fantastic or super memorable or anything, but it's like a, you know, it's a completely competent...
It's a good low-budget movie. You need more money.
Yeah, and, you know, that's kind of the only complaint I had about it, that it was just like a little slow, and they were kind of like...
They're massaging this bitch out. Yeah,
and that they were kind of like hamstrung by budgetary constraints, which, like I said, not completely their fault, but but you know, if you want to check it out, if you like Australian horror, like I said, it's got kind of a little bit of a Wolf Creeky kind of vibe, not quite as over the top as that, you know, over the top gory, over the top upsetting, or anything like that. This is pretty low key, but if you like that type of thing, just came out this year. I think it just came out like last week or something like that. And it's a Shudder exclusive as far as I know, at least in the United States. So go check it out. Okay, second movie we took in this week was the movie that just came out in the theater called Underwater.
I liked it.
I did as well. This is like... I mean, you know, it's not like a masterpiece or anything, but it was like way better than it had any right to be.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is obviously an Alien ripoff.
Yeah,
but clearly. I'm saying that, you know, in a complimentary way. It was done right. They wrote the movie so it kind of fits in with the Ridley Scott vision of the future of Blade Runner and Alien and Prometheus. It's kind of like that. It is like that. I mean, I don't think they're violating any copyrights or anything, but it's, you know, the world that they're talking about. There's a lot of little, they're not Easter eggs, but they're little, but what do you call them? They're little shout outs to those movies.
Yeah.
All throughout, including like shot composition. You know, they'll shout it out. And it's about some people trying to survive way down on this damn drilling rig's like, what was it, 4 miles underneath the ocean?
7 miles.
7
miles.
It was
actually
underneath.
7 miles. It was in the Mariana Trench.
Right, yeah, and it's almost like another world down there. I think it was like 4 tons of pressure per square inch.
Yeah, they say at the beginning.
Like. Yeah, and, you know, pressure is a huge problem. Pressure and oxygen. Some disaster strikes, the rig starts crushing itself, and the survivors are trying to figure out how to get to another rig that's on the bottom of the ocean for safety.
Yeah.
And the thing's huge. This rig's huge. I mean,
it's like an oil drilling rig, essentially.
Yeah, and it kind of leads you to believe, because it has sections of it that go up through the damn hole and out into the ocean, because it's a big old long damn tube with buildings on the outside of it. It gives you the impression that there's thousands of people on it. That's the impression that I got.
Well, I think they said at the beginning that there was 300 and something.
Is that what it is? Okay.
But I think a lot of them were killed in the initial, which isn't really a spoiler, because shit starts to go sideways about 5 seconds into the movie. Maybe a minute.
Yeah. And it's a survival horror, and it's pretty much, man, it's real close to, in concept, and a remake of Alien 1.
It is rather, which, like I said, that's not a knock on it, because that's a winning formula.
It works, and
they're not really making any secret about it.
No, they're letting you know that this is Alien 1 this is Alien 1 retold.
Except I gotta say, with obviously it's under the ocean instead of in space, also has a little bit of a Lovecraftian thing going on.
Yeah, that might be a spoiler, though. Well, Lovecraft's always about sea monsters, and this is sea monsters.
Yeah, which, like I said, I don't think that.
I don't think that's a secret either.
No, and I've seen other reviews calling it Lovecraft meets Alien, which exactly. I mean, it's not Lovecraftian in tone, but it is very much like it hits a lot of the same plot beats as Alien.
Yeah.
And it has like a lot of the same character dynamics.
Yeah.
That type of stuff, where it's just kind of like, a bunch of working Joes that are down in this rig. Shit goes south, and they have to and they have to go through this impossible set of obstacles to try to save themselves.
And lately there's been a big rash of these movies with really cheesy girl power type fucking themes. This is not one of those kind of movies. This is a lot more like the Alien franchise, where you have a heroine or female hero. You have her, but she's not a Supergirl. She's just a mechanic, and she survives this shit through her wits. And I liked it. I liked that fucking play on it. Just even though this actress is kind of known for a movie that, true, what's it called? Twilight, which people
Poor Kristen Stewart. She's been in tons of shit since then.
She gets riffed on.
And it's everybody gets still shitting on her for Twilight.
I don't know this. It is the first time I've seen this actress. I don't know Twilight. I've never seen it. So for me, it was just a fresh start. And I thought she was great in it. I thought she was like an Ellen Ripley.
Well, she does a really good job, and I think a lot of the other cast members do as well, of being, and I particularly like the one comic relief character.
Yeah.
I like that he's not a coward. He's always making jokes, and he's always talking about how he's shitting himself and stuff like that, but he's the first one to go through and do something. You know what I mean? So, because I feel like a lot of action movies make the funny guy also the coward. I liked that they didn't do that in this case.
There are kind of Blade Runner and Alien-esque tropes in it, but it's good.
Yeah.
But it's good. And none of the characters are disrespected. Think about it.
Yeah.
Everybody did a good job.
Yeah.
There wasn't any fucking losers or cowards, people.
Well,
there actually wasn't even any bad guys in it. No.
I mean, the bad guy, this was a man versus environment, or a human versus environment.
The bad guys were the damn monsters in the deep.
Was the fucking shit that they had to go through because you're 7 miles down in the ocean, whereas one of the characters very rightly says, we're not supposed to be down
What's this actress's name again?
Who, the main one?
Yeah.
Kristen Stewart,
yeah. There's another girl in it, too.
Yeah, Colleen from Iron Fist.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the actress's name is.
Yeah. Well, Stewart,
Jessica Henwick.
She's just got the short haircut, kind of butchy looking, but man, she's just cute as hell in it. And she's not being, it's not like B-movie, overly girly, fucking, that's not what it is.
Yeah, it's not
this is a real person.
We were talking about some of those sci-fi original movies where it's you see this fucking...
She's running around with long nails and high heels and shit fighting the monster. It's not like that.
Somebody that's I'm supposed to be a mechanical engineer, but she has these big long nails and her hair's all fixed and everything. That's not how life works.
She's just a working Jane, really, And most of the crew is pretty young, which is that kind of matches up. They're all military age.
Yeah,
it's very much the corporation seems to kind of have a military, flavor to it. or a paramilitary flavor to it. Not so much in uniforms, but they are all pretty well trained and they're young and they're in danger. So I guess that's what that corporation was looking for. Even their boss wasn't that old.
Yeah, the captain.
Yeah, he was, 40s? Maybe 50s?
Probably. I do like that actor, Vincent Castle, I think.
Yeah, and it's a high-risk environment, and they all know it.
Yeah, so it's and they're all pretty familiar with, the things that you do when something goes wrong. It's just that it's such a catastrophic breakdown that they have to really kind of fight their way across. Right. And it becomes kind of a thing where, we're either going to sit here and die or we're going to go out there and die. It's you know what I mean? It's
they knew what they were doing. They tried to replicate that dynamic of the crew inside the Nostromo from Alien 1. And I think they did a good job.
I think they did too. And like I said, it's not a masterpiece. It's not going to win any awards or anything, but it's very weird to me that this movie was apparently, according to Wikipedia, made back in 2017. Yeah. And it's apparently, or 2018, and apparently it's been sitting on a shelf for a while because I guess nobody thought it would be any good, or they thought nobody would go see it.
Yeah, and they released it.
And they just dumped it in January.
They released it in January. That's the shit movie. That's shit movie.
Pretty much. Or movies where studios, they don't think it's going to do any kind of business, so they just kind of, throw it in January, and then just everybody forgets about it.
They thought the same thing about that movie, The Meg.
Yeah.
And The Meg was a very different movie. All right. Yeah. Tonally.
That was goofier.
Yeah. I loved The Meg, though. I thought The Meg was fucking funny.
It was a bigger budget sci-fi original.
Big budget sci-fi original. It's two-headed sharks and that kind of shit, It's like a sci-fi original. But it was very enjoyable and it was traditional in its layout. Well, this one is also kind of traditional in its layout.
Yeah.
In the spirit of Alien 1.
Yeah.
So I liked it.
And like I said, if you like Alien, if you liked, the kind of the Alien ripoff underwater movies that came out, I guess in the 90s, like The Abyss and stuff like that. Maybe that was later.
This is much better than
or Leviathan or something. Yeah. I actually liked this a lot better.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot better now.
because I should say too that being deep underwater, in the ocean, is one of my horrible fears. And it's I've always had when I was a kid, I would always have nightmares about that. You would be in this really deep ocean and then this huge monster would come out of the darkness toward you. So anything that plays on that is going to stress me the fuck out.
You could tell that they knew about Abyss and Leviathan, but I just think these are on a totally different tier of quality. This is a lot better quality.
Yeah, this is a really good, and like I said, there's a quiet moment at the beginning where Kristen Stewart's just in the bathroom brushing her teeth or whatever, and then a minute into the movie, everything starts going sideways, and it's pretty much just a non-stop.
Yeah.
And some people I think have criticized, you don't get a lot of character development and stuff like that, which
you don't need that in a movie like this.
Like this, I don't think, and you get it in little bits and pieces. You get a sense of the people's characters. It's not it's more of a plot-driven movie, an action-driven movie, rather than a character-driven.
Right.
But I think you get enough of the characters that you care about them. You don't want them to die. You know what I mean? They give them little quirks and stuff. The funny guy has...
It's shot like you're there with them trying to survive this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the character development, it's not really needed. It's just, are these people going to survive? How are they going to get out of this?
Yeah.
And that's really where the enjoyment is. And there's scares in it, even though I saw them coming.
Yeah.
But it is an eerie movie. If you thought Alien was eerie and underwater shit is eerie to me.
Yeah, same here.
Since I was a little kid, you go to that damn underwater ride at Disneyland where you pass that big old fucking whale.
Yeah, that used to scare the shit out of me when I was little.
And those big fucking underwater damn giant squid. Was it a squid or was it an octopus in Disneyland?
I think it was a squid, actually.
Yeah, that underwater shit scared me fucking when I was a kid.
Yeah, and it's kind of still does. I mean, pretty much the whole time I was watching this movie, in the back of my head, I was thinking, fuck the ocean.
Yeah.
I'm not going out there ever.
Yeah. So, man, I just thought it was a good movie, and I don't care what they say.
It's just,
I want to buy it.
It's a lot of fun. It's a fun, it's just a fun horror movie. Like I said, it's not going to win any awards or anything, but...
And visually, imagine if Blade Runner 2049 was underneath the water. They had some of that in it. And Alien.
Yeah.
But that's supposed to all be kind of the same
it
universe.
reminded me the most of Alien, just, the way it was set up, the isolation, the kind of claustrophobia.
Yeah, but some of those exterior shots of the drilling rig to show you how big it was.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of the scenes of flying over those big buildings in down Blade Runner. And then I can't spoil the ending of it. The ending was very... I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is what kind of movie this is.
Yeah.
But, okay. You know?
I mean...
All right.
Yeah.
I saw hints at it in the damn locker.
Yeah.
When he broke into that captain's locker.
Yeah.
And then he showed pictures of the damn sea monsters, and it kind of looked like something out of Cthulhu and fucking H.P. Lovecraft. And
one thing I wondered, though, is that I wonder if they're trying to set up like an extended universe type of thing, because at one point, like the captain, he was the captain on the other rig that they were trying to get to, the abandoned one, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, because she found his locker, and then but somebody said earlier that there was nothing there.
And then the company's covering all this up, so you kind of have a Whalen Industries.
So I felt like they
know about something that's happened down there.
And plus, I kind of liked that they didn't use a lot of exposition. They just at the beginning and end, they had reports and like newspaper articles and stuff like that. So if you read those, you kind of got an idea of what was going on on the surface. But they didn't really go into it in the movie.
They didn't have to, though. Yeah, it's great.
That's what I mean. That was a good
shit vague. And the only thing I can knock this movie for is that in the beginning, it opens up with monologue.
Yeah, there's not a lot of it.
There's not a lot
narration,
of it. Narration, narration, which that was in Blade Runner 1.
Yeah.
Too. In certain cuts of the original cut of Blade Runner. But I'm going why are they...
It was divisive in that one, too.
Yeah, they're like, why are they narrating here? It was totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
You didn't need to know any of that.
Yeah.
That's
true. Like I said, maybe they were just trying... Maybe that was added later, to try to give a little bit more character development. But you didn't... That was the only time. It only happened at the very beginning and the very end.
The less I knew about that girl, I think, the better.
Yeah.
I just... You know what I mean? I wouldn't give her any kind of backstory.
Yeah.
Just... Because that's the way Ellen Ripley was. They added backstory and shit later in other movies that came.
Well, like I said,
Ellen Ripley wasn't even written as a woman. That character was written as just kind of a man,
a person,
a unisex kind of thing, and that works out well.
Yeah.
That way, there isn't any kind of fucking weird, what do you call it? Gender expectations out of that character.
Well, like I said, if it's just a team, and that's why it worked well in Alien, is because if it's just a team that's trying to get a job done...
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You just do what your job is, and that's the end of the story.
Right. And that's what made Alien 1 so great, is that some of the shit you were reading into it because you're seeing a Ripley that is female. You know what I mean? But originally the character was kind of conceived as being male. That way, when she was being disobeyed, remember when her orders got disobeyed to let it in? It kind of looked like, man, they disobeyed her because she's a woman. They didn't trust her. It kind of looked like that.
Yeah.
Which that added to the movie.
Yeah.
But that's not really what it was, because that same thing happened in the script when the character was male.
Yeah.
But I just,
although switching out the gender did, like you said, it did do a lot of interesting things.
It did a lot of more interesting
with
stuff.
That.
Yeah.
Just because, because that's why it's kind of like Night of the Living Dead, where, the main character wasn't written necessarily as a black man, but because he became the actor was black, it actually gave the movie a subtext that maybe it didn't even have, or he didn't really intend.
No, but it worked
just
out
because of that working out better. So I think the same thing happened with Alien and casting a woman as Ripley.
Yeah, because it's audience expectation.
Yeah,
and and it adds to it. This one, I could tell that this character was written as a female from the beginning, but they're trying to do the exact same thing with Ripley.
She didn't do anything that was... I mean, she was a mechanical engineer. She just did what she was supposed to do, on the job. When shit went wrong, she knew this is the protocol that you follow. Right. That's not working. Okay, so I'm going to figure this other thing out. So she just did it. There wasn't anything in there that was that screamed girl at me.
No, not really. Yeah. It's just that they were all some kind of specialist or some kind of technician, and she just happened to be the mechanic.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Yeah.
It worked out good. I liked the movie.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of a work environment movie. Work environment or service related, like a war movie or something, just like that.
Yeah.
I liked it.
But yeah, like I said, it's interesting because, it seemed like the studio didn't really have much faith in it to have kept it on the shelf for so long and then dumped it in January.
Well, they're going, this is an Alien knockoff, and fucking Abyss and Leviathan, that shit's played out. That's exactly what they were thinking. They're going, this isn't going to do, but they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, the thing, it doesn't bother them to release ripoffs of other movies.
Because
everything's a ripoff of something.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Everything's a ripoff of something.
Yeah, I thought it was...
Pretty much.
I just took the movie for what it was, and the quality it's a high quality movie that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right.
Yeah, I had a good time with it. It's just a fun, like, scary underwater monster movie. I was into it.
Monster movie.
Nothing more or less than that. And
if you like Alien, you'd love it.
Yeah, and I actually quite liked it.
Yeah.
All right, the third movie we're going to be talking about this week is also a theater movie, which actually started in limited release on Christmas Day, but we didn't actually get until about a week ago. This is 1917, the war movie directed by Sam Mendes, who also did Skyfall and also American Beauty, which I think he won a fucking Oscar for, if I'm not mistaken. This has also won several awards so far and has been nominated for several Oscars. It's kind of based on... It's not based entirely on a true story. However, it is based on director Sam Mendes. Apparently, something that his grandfather told him about something that happened to him or his regiment or someone that he knew, like back in World War I. He's like, it's not exactly the same, but that's where the germ of the idea came from. He made the movie in like homage to his paternal grandfather.
Yeah, that's something that we in the Army used to call a war story. All right, and being ex-infantry myself, I understand the culture of the infantry. War story is usually a bullshit tale, all right? And this is based on a bullshit tale. But okay, go ahead, Jen. It is based on a bullshit tale.
Well, anyway, like, I'm going to say, like, yeah. I'm guessing it's really weird to me, but I guess you didn't like this movie?
No, I didn't like it.
I really liked it. I
liked the quality of the movie. It looked great. There were some really good scenes in it, but it was too realistic. They're trying to show realism. All right, or they're trying to make you think that this is realism, but then when you see this story unfold, I go, nah, it's bullshit. That didn't happen. No. Oh well, it's your fault. I just kind of come from a culture where I know training in World War I wasn't really that good, but runners tended to be the best men that they had, and if this is the best men that British unit had, then. Man, I think that the whole movie was an insult to the British Army.
Well, like I said, I think what they were trying to do was that the whole point of it, and if you've seen the trailer, you kind of pretty much know it's a very simple story. It's based around like real events that happened in April of 1917, whereas the Germans retreated back several miles. And they weren't entirely sure, like, whether they were doing it as a trap or whether it was, like, a legit thing or something. So the whole point was that there was this one regiment and they had to go warn this other one, like, not to attack because it was a trap. And they picked this one guy in particular because his brother was in the other regiment and they knew that he would, like, try to get there as hard as he could because I guess he wanted to save his brother. So they're trying to save the lives of the 1,600 men in the other unit because they're pretty much walking into a trap. So the whole thing, it looks like it was shot in one take. It wasn't, but the way it's shot makes you think that. So they actually did a really good job of making it seem like the whole thing was just one long take where you're just like following these two soldiers like through this horrible, arduous journey that they are going on. But like I said, it's not... It's a little bit of movie magic. They didn't actually do this all in one take, but a lot of it was done in very, very long takes, and they just used like creative blocking and things like that to make it look like there were no edits. I think the only place there was a significant edit was one time when the soldier like shot the sniper and then he got knocked out. And then there was like a long period of black like before he woke up again. So I think that was like the only time that I noticed that there was an edit or like a little bit of a time jump. So the fact that you have, a soldier who has, a vested interest in getting to this other place to avoid, not only to avoid getting these 1,600 people killed, but also to avoid his brother dying. So you have that emotional investment there. The other guy that comes along, he just kind of comes along because he's the other guy's buddy, because when they called them, that he didn't really know what he was getting called for. So that guy was kind of like, well, fuck me. I didn't know this was what was going to happen. So they end up having to go essentially across the German front lines, you know, into the trenches and everything like that, like trying to get to this other unit. And no one thinks they're going to make it. You know, I'm not going to spoil like what actually happens, but it's basically just them going across, like trying to get to this other regiment before morning, so it's, you know, all set within 24 hours. Like I said, I really liked this movie a lot. I got like really invested in this, like, and there's like a bunch of like really horrible shit that happens. I mean, it's very realistic when they're like climbing, because we saw that fucking that documentary last year that was all of the colorized.
Oh, they got the look right. They even got the sound right.
Yeah,
it's like the explosions. That's the way.
Creepily,
that's the way.
Realistic. You feel like you're there. There's fucking dead bodies everywhere. That it's like nasty. There's dead horses.
TNT has a certain sound when it goes off, and that sounded like a real TNT type of.
Yeah, I mean, they really did try to get everything as accurate as possible.
Yeah, World War I didn't. They hadn't really perfected high explosives, but they had TNT. There's a certain sound when you hear it. You know, it's a concussive shockwave. They had the look and the feel right. It's just that. It was just ridiculous. I mean, had it been sold to me as a comedy, I probably would have liked it.
Why did you find it funny, though? That's fucked up.
Because those dudes are clowns. Everything they did was the exact opposite of what a real soldier would do. I mean, they're talking to girls on their way there. They're 1,500. The lives of 1,500 men are in the balance, and they're taking POWs and talking to girls on the way and walking. No, you run the whole way. It wasn't very far. It was only a couple miles.
Yeah.
They can't run 5 miles? I'd have been there in about, what, an hour?
Well, like I said, they were trying to get like more emotional investment into the characters.
He runs across German enemy soldiers who are basically in a state of unreadiness, and you don't kill them? He did
kill that one guy.
Yeah, there were 3 or 4 of them, though.
There were 2. He killed one, and then the other one was drunk.
Before all that time. Yeah, I'd have shot those fuckers. Look, no. It's just not the way it is. It's not the way it is. When you have 1,600 of your buddies, when their lives are on the lines, you run to the objective. You kill everyone in your way, man, woman, and child, friendly or enemy. Those stakes are very high. All right, and it's running through it. And if you run across something you can't fight, you avoid it. I mean, there's a big building on fire. He walks up to it, clearly silhouetting himself, making himself known. It's just stupid, you know. The way he crossed the river was just totally. Only an idiot would have done that. I know it's World War I. Those guys were not really, you know, kind of not trained very well. But runners tended to be their best guys. They weren't really picked at random. Well, at least, you know, I know the Germans didn't pick them at random. They were kind of like their versions of commandos, and they were good at that kind of shit. But no, it was just, to me, I'm not gonna say it was a bad movie. I'm just gonna say that. It was a very entertaining movie, you know, as far as like for comedic value. You know what I mean? Just that it was not based on a real story. This is not the way guys actually are.
Like I said, he didn't base it on a real story. He based it on something that his grandfather told him.
Yeah, and his grandfather was doing something called telling war stories.
Yeah.
Which is lying. You don't meet teenage girls in the middle of a World War I battlefield. Just doesn't happen.
She was in a village. That was a village.
That was not a village. That was a burned down wreckage, and it was filled with German troops. And if you had teenage girls carrying babies and feeding babies, it's just totally implausible. Totally implausible. Yeah, didn't happen. And even if she was there, they wouldn't spend time talking to her.
Well, he was wounded.
It doesn't matter. You run. You know, this is all superhuman feats. He got there, and then bitch lost his weapon. That really freaked me out. He lost his weapon, and he kept going. It's just an embarrassment, I thought. You know, I was feeling embarrassed. You don't lose your weapon.
I know.
You just don't do it.
Well, I liked the movie, and most other people seem to like it too.
No.
So, you know.
I saw it as a glorification of incompetence. I just didn't, you know. I would have gotten in big fucking trouble had I done that kind of shit.
Okay.
I'm just saying, my standards are much higher for military movies than they are fun movies, especially one that's trying to sell it realism to me. You know, like I love an army movie like Stripes. It's just totally ridiculous. You know what I mean? Or what's the name? Private Benjamin. Remember how fucking ridiculous that shit was?
I
like those. But whenever you're trying to sell me something that's supposed to be realistic or and it's not just me, because I said something about it on Tom Shady Movies, and all the other veterans were going, "Yep, that's right." You know, they hate them too. Veterans hate war movies.
Yeah.
Basically, because there's a lot of bullshit in it.
Well, like I said, it's like I just kind of took it as it's a movie. It's not real life. Yeah. So I always kind of like, am I invested in these characters? Do I want them to finish their mission? And, you know, am I getting... So I enjoyed it on that. So I'm not like constantly nitpicking about
Best
stuff
war
like
movie
that.
of all time was Saving Private Ryan. That was
yeah, well, I liked that movie as well.
That was a good one.
You know.
I remembered Hamburger Hill being pretty good.
Yeah, I liked that.
But that's about it. Most of them aren't very good. The Midway movie that we saw, that was pretty good. That was pretty close to what really happened.
That was a little, I don't know.
Letters from Iwo Jima was very good.
Yeah.
I liked that one.
Midway was all right, but I felt like that was a little too Hollywood.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but actually, though, I think marine warfare or naval warfare at that time had a Hollywood quality. Those dudes were all those dudes were fucking wild ass, especially the pilots. They were wild asses.
If I'm going to see a war movie, I'd rather see one that was like more realistic and not all like, woo! You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think those guys are like that, though.
Well, no, but I mean like that just overdo everything, and it just like seems like massive explosions, like very Michael Bay.
Yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about.
And it's like,
you're talking about the characters.
I just can't, well, that too, but it's like, I also can't stand like all that over-the-top special effects, like all the explosions are super loud and super big, and it's just kind of like, you know, it just seems like a lot of spectacle.
World War II fighter pilots were all assholes, though.
Well,
they were all over the top. Pappy Boyington and all those guys, they were fucking showboats.
Yeah.
But they earned that right. Because we're fucking nuts, man.
All right. So anyway, so if you want to go see 1917 and see if you know what Tom is talking about, then go check it out.